In your news at 9 tonight, Belt and Road. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says the initiative is an opportunity for Sri Lanka to position as a key hub in Asia.
First at 9. This is Derana 24/7.
Also tonight, May Day aftermath. President says government cannot be toppled by showing massive crowds at events. WannaCry ransomware. CERT says low threat from cyber attack to Sri Lanka. Geetha's seat. Geetha remains a parliamentarian until Supreme Court decides on her seat. And making international headlines, French politics, Emmanuel Macron appoints Eduardo Philippe as his prime minister. Good evening everyone, Mahesh Johnny with Derana 24/7. We begin in China tonight. Chinese President Xi Jinping chaired the Leaders Roundtable Summit in Beijing today, a part of the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Representing Sri Lanka, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe joined at least 29 leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and Pakistan Premier Nawaz Sharif. The Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation concluded today.
On the second day of the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, a roundtable summit was organized for leaders in attendance at the Yankee Lake Convention Center in Beijing. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe represented Sri Lanka. The roundtable summit began with an address by Chinese President Xi Jinping.
The Belt and Road Initiative originates from China, but it belongs to the world. The Belt and Road construction spans different regions, development phases and civilizations. It is an open and inclusive cooperation platform and a global public product forged jointly by different parties. Focusing on Eurasia, it opens to all like-minded friends and doesn't exclude nor target any single party.
Also addressing the summit, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe called all countries part of China's One Belt One Road initiative to determine to work for its success. The Premier went on to say that the One Belt One Road initiative will be a boost for Sri Lanka's endeavours to become the Indian Ocean hub, utilising its strategic geographical location. Representatives of key international organisations such as UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, World Bank President Jim Yong Kim and Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund Christine Lagarde joined heads of states and other leaders from countries. The One Belt One Road project seeks to improve connectivity and cooperation among countries in Asia, Africa, China and Europe through the creation of an economic land belt reviving the ancient Silk Road. Last evening, Chinese President Xi Jinping hosted a dinner for delegates attending the One Belt One Road Forum. Later, the world leaders were welcomed in the National Center of Performing Arts in Beijing for a cultural evening themed Millennial Road, depicting how Asia, Europe and Africa are connected.
In one of our headline stories, the Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Readiness Team, or CERT, says that the recent global cyber attack still poses a threat to Windows computers in Sri Lanka that have not applied the latest security updates. A massive cyber attack using tools believed to have been originally developed by the US National Security Agency has affected computers in over 150 countries, causing major disruptions in hospitals, major companies and government agencies.
Computers in 150 countries have been infected to date with a variant of ransomware called WannaCry that takes advantage of Windows systems that have not applied a critical security update released in March. Speaking to CNN, Europol chief Rob Wainwright said that Friday's cyber attack has affected more than 200,000 victims.
Rising threat from ransomware has perhaps become the #1 cyber threat around the world right now, but we've never seen anything on this scale. So the infection of one computer triggers rather remotely an infection of entire networks.
After taking computers over, the virus displays messages demanding a ransom payment of $300 payable in Bitcoin to unlock files and return them to the user. Many of the affected computers had not applied the update released by Microsoft or were using an operating system that is no longer supported. Speaking to Ada Derana, Principal Information Security Engineer of the CERT Sri Lanka, said that Windows computers in the country may also fall prey if the latest security patches are not applied.
It does not target any specific country or organization or a specific sector, but it targets the vulnerable computers which was not updated. If you keep your Windows computer updated, then there is no chance that you will get this ransomware into your computer. So there were some instances where this has gone through the emails. You might receive a suspicious email with some suspicious attachment. When you open up this attachment, it will encrypt your data in your computer. You should not be opening up those unwanted emails as well. Proactive actions would be to take a backup of your data. You keep it to an external hard drive and keep it separated from the computer as well. It has already spread into large number of countries, but in Sri Lanka also there might be a chance, but if we keep our computers up to date, there is no chance that you will get a ransomware into your computer. Any issues with information security related concerns, you can contact us on 011 2691 692.
The Supreme Court extended the suspension of appeal court judgment on Geetha Kumarasinghe's parliamentary seat until final determination of the case. Accordingly, Geetha Kumarasinghe is allowed to remain a parliamentarian until the final decision of the Supreme Court.
A petition was filed by 4 voters from the Galle district in 2015 against parliamentarian Geetha Kumarasinghe, citing that her dual citizenship disqualifies her from holding a seat in parliament. On the 3rd of May this year, the Court of Appeal declared that Geetha Kumarasinghe is disqualified from holding a seat in Parliament, citing the 19th Amendment. She is a citizen of both Switzerland and Sri Lanka. Last week, Geetha Kumarasinghe filed an appeal over the Court of Appeal ruling that annulled her post in Parliament. On Friday, the Supreme Court suspended the appeal court judgment effective until today. Today, the appeal court was taken up at the Supreme Court. The Deputy Solicitor General informed the Supreme Court that according to information received by the Immigration and Immigration Department, the MP still holds citizenship of Switzerland. However, the counsel who appeared on behalf of Kumarasinghe argued that Geetha was granted Swiss citizenship upon her marriage and was not deliberately acquired, and she is thereby qualified to be elected as a Member of Parliament. The petition will be heard on the 25th of September.
Not only for me, but I believe that everyone who seeks the assistance of the law has found justice. It is a very happy day for me. I have not done anything against anyone, so I knew that I will receive justice.
President Maithripala Sirisena described the post-May Day expectations of certain parties to establish a government as a complete farce. The president made the comment speaking at an event in Polonnaruwa, adding that the debt incurred by the former government's development programs have become a serious issue for the country.
The presentation of 10,000 land deeds for settlers of the Mahaweli B and C zones took place today at the Aralagang Vilavilayaya Mahavidyalaya under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena. The event was part of a program to present 100,000 deeds ensuring hereditary ownership for settlers.
A heavy debt burden was imposed upon the nation, showing off development. This debt has become the biggest issue for the country. They have still not explained why someone who could have held power for 2 more years decided to contest elections again. This country's demographics, religious background, cultural status and social structure determine how voting occurs during an election. Some, seeing the crowd gathered at Galle for May Day, thought they could establish a government the very next day. When Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to Decoya in Hatton, hundreds of thousands gathered there too. When I ran for election, you all know whose meetings attracted a far larger crowd than mine. If one assumes they can set up government by judging the crowds gathered, it is a complete joke. Those who demanded that black flags be hoisted for the Indian Premier's visit met him at 11 o'clock that night. The Indian High Commissioner told me that the so-called black flag contingent requested a meeting and asked for my opinion. I told him to go ahead with the meeting. Those who say that this government is weak and will soon collapse are those who cannot bear to watch our progress. We will move forward strongly as a government, regardless of whatever challenges and criticism we face.
අභියෝග කොතෙක් ආවත් ශක්තිමත්ව ආණ්ඩුවක් විදිහට අපි ඉස්සරහට වැඩ කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා.
The Government Medical Officers Association today issued an ultimatum to the government warning that unless a solution is provided for the Saitam issue before the 29th of this month, the GMOA will resort to indefinite trade union action. They added that they had requested the President in writing to inform the judiciary of the government's stance on the Saitam issue.
What are the specific goals that you expect? The specific goals?
Yeah.
Do you expect the government to meet by your deadline?
First one is they have to go through the SLMC recommendations regarding the Saitam. And the Minister Kirialla should have to go to the Supreme Court and tell that the degree awarding status given to the Saitam is not legal because they didn't gain the compliance certificate from the SLMC. So the degree awarding status should be revoked. Other one is that they should have to gazette the minimum standards of the medical education. They have to stop the recruitment and the degree awarding of the Saitam and nationalize the Saitam. Finally, there should be a committee to find out the solutions for the students who are in the Saitam.
At this rate, do you think that the government will be able to meet those demands?
We can't expect that because we can't expect these politicians. We have to do our fight. Then they have to decide whether they have to stand on the people's side or with the money.
Also in local stories, pandemonium broke out at today's session of the Commission of Inquiry probing the controversial Treasury bond issuance when the attorney representing former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran presented a confidential document. State counsels from the Attorney General's Department raised objections over such a document being tabled. Today was the Commission's 40th sitting.
Attorney Chanaka Silva, representing the central bank's former governor Arjuna Mahendran, commenced today's hearing with the cross-examination of Deputy CBSL Governor Dr. Nandalal Weerasinghe. Attorney Chanaka de Silva produced a document which was identified as a technical assistance report on the issuance of treasury bonds prepared by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Senior Additional Solicitor General Dapula de Oliveira raised objections over such a confidential document being presented at the Commission and said the witness should not make comments. However, Chairman of the Commission of Inquiry, Justice K.T. Chitrasiri, allowed Dr. Nandalal Weerasinghe to consult present Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy on whether the document could be presented at the Commission. The Commission began sittings after an adjournment of 20 minutes, and Dr. Nandalal Weerasinghe notified the Commission that Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy had allowed him to talk about the report in order to assist the current probe. However, the Central Bank Governor had expressed concern over past occurrences. The Commission highlighted that it is the responsibility of the Central Bank Governor to take due action over such confidential reports being revealed. The Commission decided to record Dr. Nandalal Weerasinghe's evidence over the confidential report in camera. The Commission of Inquiry will reconvene tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Welcome back everyone. On to the stock market. The Colombo Bourse closed today as the market fell into consolidation mode after a strong performance of 2 months. The ASPI closed lower at 6,659.87, while the S&P SL 20 index dropped to 3,836.44. Market turnover failed to hit the 500 million rupee mark, while foreign investors were net sellers of 10 million rupees worth of shares. We now have the daily market update with Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
Top 5 gainers of the day were Brak Lanka Finance, Udipusella Plantations, Kalamazu Systems, Tharavakale Tea Estates and Kottagal Plantations, while the top 5 losers were PC House, PC Pharma, Property Development, Kothmale Holdings and Lanka Aluminium. Today's foreign purchases were 205.25 million rupees and foreign sales were 215.38 million rupees. There were 2 crossings today and the crossings turnover was 109.68 million rupees.
Now here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day today. Also in business news, after a 7-year wait, the European Council of Foreign and Trade Ministers approved Sri Lanka's application for GSP Plus, allowing the island's export products duty-free access to European markets once again. Speaking to Ada Derana, Chief Economist of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Anushka Vijayasinghe said several sectors of the country's export economy are already gearing up in preparation to meet the looming demands from the European region.
GSP Plus, a special arrangement of the EU's generalized scheme of preferences, is an instrument of the European Union trade policy, which aims at encouraging countries to comply with core international standards in the areas of human rights, labor rights, environmental protection, and good governance. While the standard GSP generally grants tariff reductions or suspensions to developing countries on about 66% of EU tariff lines, GSP Plus offers additional advantages through complete duty suspension in return for compliance on 27 international conventions. Although Sri Lanka had benefited from GSP Plus in the past, in 2010, the EU decided to withdraw their preferential treatment for Sri Lankan imports to the region, citing failure to address human rights concerns. In 2015, the government set out a path of major reform aimed at national reconciliation, human rights, rule of law, and good governance, and by end June 2016, formally applied to regain the GSP Plus facility. In July 2016, the European Commission's assessment concluded that Sri Lanka met GSP Plus entry criteria. In January, the European Commission recommended that GSP Plus should be granted to Sri Lanka once again. Finally, on the 11th of May, the European Council approved the granting of the generalized system of preferential plus tariff concessions to Sri Lanka, allowing the island to once again export its products tax-free to the European market. The EU is Sri Lanka's biggest export market, accounting for nearly 1/3 of Sri Lanka's global exports. The concessions will provide relief to over 6,000 goods, including garments, while industries such as export of seafood have hopes of reaching heightened targets.
And I think we will have the exports, especially seafood exports, increased by 100% immediately. And if we want to get the further benefit, we have to work on it.
Speaking to Ada Derana, Chief Economist of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Anushka Vijayasinghe has said that the government and private sector must prepare in order to reap maximum benefits.
Regaining GSP Plus for Sri Lanka is coming at a very good time, and many sectors in the private sector are very happy about it. So the first thing from the government side is to make sure that various procedures and regulatory hurdles and institutional gaps that are currently holding investors and exporters back get quickly addressed. The other, of course, is for the private sector, where the private sector needs to really be ready to take on a lot of these orders.
Welcome back everyone, and on to sports. Defending champions Army Sports Club and Java Lane picked up wins in the semi-finals of the Sri Lanka FA Cup on Saturday to set up a thrilling final schedule on Saturday. Java Lane beat 15-time champion Saunders Sports Club on penalties, while Mohammad Isadeen hat-trick helped the Army to a 3-2 win over Colombo FC. The FA Cup has been contested annually since 1948 and is organised by the Football Federation of Sri Lanka.
After going a goal down in the second half, Java Lane mounted a spectacular comeback, tying the game in the 74th minute when Naveen Jude turned in a Janakacham in the cross. The Slave Island side went on to win the game in a shootout, netting all 5 penalties, while Saunders SC missed 2. Early in the evening, the Army Sports Club were pushed to the brink after taking a 2-0 lead at half-time, courtesy of Mohammad Isadeen. Dylan Kaushalya then netted twice for Colombo FC, but Isadeen completed his hat-trick in the 85th minute, sending the Soldiers into the FA Cup final.
The Indian Premier League, the rising Pune supergiant breezed past Kings 11 Punjab last night to finish second in the league and assure themselves of a playoff spot. Also yesterday, table poppers Royal Challengers Bangalore narrowly beat 6th place Delhi Daredevils by 10 runs, with both sides making their exits from the competition.
After Kings 11 Punjab were put into bat, Martin Guptill set the tone by being dismissed first ball as the team crumbled to a season-low 73 all-out. Medium pacer Shardul Thakur took 3 for 19 in his 4 overs, while Jaidev Unadkat, Adam Zampa and Daniel Christian picked up 2 scalps each. In reply, Pune cruised to 78 in 12 overs, losing just 1 wicket, with opening batsman Ajinkya Rahane scoring a runner ball 34 and finishing the game with a 6. In the late game, Bangalore batted first and managed 161 for the loss of 6 wickets in their 20 overs, with skipper Virat Kohli top scoring with a 45 ball 58. Delhi in response were bowled out for 151, with Rishabh Pant top scoring with 45.
Now to some international football action. Liverpool netted 4 goals against West Ham last evening in their Penultimate Premier League game to move into 3rd place. 2nd place, Tottenham Hotspur beat Manchester United 2-1, ending the Red Devils' hopes of qualifying for a lucrative Champions League spot via the EPL. United can still qualify for Europe's premier competition if they win the Europa League.
In-demand playmaker Philippe Coutinho produced a majestic performance for the Reds, slicing open the Hammers' defence for Daniel Sturridge to open the scoring. Coutinho then knocked in 2 of his own inside 5 minutes, first after Gini Wijnaldum hit the crossbar with a spectacular volley and then from close range. Divock Origi turned in a 4th, with the Reds knowing that a win in their last game of the season against Middlesbrough will give them Champions League football. Victor Wanyama gave 2nd place Tottenham the lead in the 6th minute against Manchester United, and Harry Kane made it 2 in the 48th. Wayne Rooney halved the deficit, but Spurs held on for the win, ending United's hopes of a top 4 finish. The 2-1 home win was the last game to be held at White Hart Lane. The iconic stadium will make way for a new venue opening in 2018, and Tottenham will play their home games next season at Wembley.
On to tennis now. Rafael Nadal consolidated his flying start to the clay court season by taking a record-extending 5th Madrid Open title last evening, battling past a determined Dominic Thiem to win in straight sets.
Rafael Nadal, having beaten Dominic Thiem 6-4, 6-1 in the final of last month's Barcelona Open, fell behind early after he conceded a break to go 3-1 down. Nadal broke back to win the 6th game, and the first set went to a tiebreak, which the Spaniard won 10-8 after Thiem made 2 unforced errors. Nadal broke in the opening game of the 2nd set, and while Thiem resisted 3 championship points at 5-4, Nadal seized the 4th with a drop shot to clinch his 3rd consecutive clay court crown.
And finally in sports, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes stole a stunning victory in yesterday's Spanish Grand Prix from Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel, while Daniel Ricciardo took the last slot on the podium. A clever strategic move by the team, followed by attacking driving, gave Hamilton his 2nd victory of the season.
Although Hamilton started the race in pole with the fastest time in qualifying, Vettel took the lead off the start line and held it for the first half of the race. After being overtaken in the 44th lap, Vettel finished 2nd but holds his position at the top of the Drivers' Championship with 104 points, with Hamilton lurking within 6. Meanwhile, Mercedes maintained their spot atop the Constructors' leaderboard with 161 points, closely followed by Ferrari with 153.
Welcome back everyone. In some local stories, the government will establish a quality assurance authority to monitor private higher education institutions. Deputy Minister of Power and Renewable Energy Ajit P. Pereira stated this at a media briefing today. He furthermore said that this authority will have the right to close down the South Asian Institute of Technology and Medicine if it fails to maintain the required standards. The government today placed a notice on newspapers of its policy decisions to improve the standard of medical education. It includes legislating the minimum qualifications that are mandatory for pursuing medical education in any university. It is also made mandatory for all private medical universities registered in Sri Lanka to maintain high academic standards, administrative procedures and proper management practices, and also requiring that all such universities are governed by a board of governors and are listed on the Colombo Stock Exchange so to public ownership through shares, arranging Saitam medical students who pass their final examination to undergo clinical training at the Homagama and Avisawil Government Hospital. It also states making it mandatory for all Saitam medical students to face an examination conducted under the supervision of the Sri Lanka Medical Council and University Grants Commission, suspending further recruitment of medical students for Saitam until the government decisions are implemented. The government is taking over the Dr. Neville Fernando Hospital and managing it as a teaching hospital to provide free healthcare services to the public. Governor of the North Central Province, P.B. Dissanayake, refused to accept an affidavit presented by 17 UPFA provincial councillors against the Chief Minister of the North Central Province, Peshala Jayaratne. The UPFA provincial councillors stated in their affidavits that they have lost faith in the Chief Minister Jayaratne and requested the reassignment of S.M. Ranjith to his previous post as Chief Minister.
The Central Province Governor's decision to dismiss Provincial Minister K.H. Nandasena from his ministerial post of Provincial Health, Indigenous Medicine, Social Welfare, Probation and Childcare, Environmental and Provincial Council Affairs last Wednesday led to a tense situation in the Council. To protest the decision, NCP's Minister of Transport, Sports, Youth Affairs, Cooperative, Trade and Food and Industrial Development, S.M. Ranjith, resigned from his post as well. 21 of the 33 members of the North Central Provincial Council represent the United People's Freedom Alliance, while 11 members represented the United National Party. The Janata Vimukti Peramuna has one representative.
The governor was ordered not to accept any petitions. The JVP Provincial Council member does not support the Chief Minister. One member from the UNP will support us. There are 4 members who support the Chief Minister, but we have more than a majority who have signed this affidavit.
Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development Mahinda Amaraveera and Minister of Sports Dayasiri Jayasekara also expressed their views regarding the matter.
There is no way of influencing the post of Chief Minister. It should be done by speaking with all UPFA members. Now they are trying to build a government of UNP and Sri Lanka Freedom Party in the North Central Provincial Council. There is no way of acting as independent councillors, but they can resign. We have to take action if they are trying to break away and join the party of GL Pires. We have the ability to take disciplinary actions against this. We are trying to solve the issue without dividing the party.
Moving on to international news now. On his first day as French President, Emmanuel Macron has named Conservative Edouard Philippe as his Prime Minister, a crucial first step in consolidating a country dissatisfied with mainstream politics as well as slumping economy. Seeking closer ties with EU anchor nation Germany, Macron also meets Chancellor Angela Merkel in Berlin later today.
46-year-old Edouard Philippe is the mayor of northern port city Le Havre and is from the moderate wing of France's centre-right Republican Party. As he does not represent Macron's new centrist party, his nomination is being seen as an attempt to draw in key figures from both the right and left of French politics after several former socialist MPs joined Macron's cause. Meanwhile, Macron has said he wants to reform the Eurozone, giving it a common budget and its own finance minister, but he will need Germany's backing. Ahead of their scheduled meeting today, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said that the election of Emmanuel Macron opens up the possibility of more dynamism in the European Union. For its part, Germany wants to see France carry out structural changes such as reducing public spending and reforming its rigid labour market. Macron's next major challenge before he can make any reforms is to win a majority in June parliamentary elections for his République En Marche party, which currently has no parliamentary seats.
A 25-year-old scientist representing the District of Columbia was crowned winner of the Miss USA pageant yesterday, making it a second consecutive victory for a contestant from the nation's capital. Cara McClure, who holds a degree in chemistry and works at the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, triumphed over 50 other contestants to claim victory in the Las Vegas-hosted contest. For her question as one of the three finalists, McClure was asked about healthcare rights and replied that affordable healthcare was a privilege for people who held jobs. McClure will go on to compete as the U.S. representative at the annual Miss Universe pageant. Well, that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. We will return tomorrow at 9 p.m. with Indibari, and be sure to join her then. Mahesh Johnny, and before we go, we'd like to give you a peek into the hidden beauty of Sri Lankan flora and fauna. A beauty that we fail to recognize all too often, whether it is in the delicacy of a tiny flower or the agility of a garden lizard or the simple stillness of a dewdrop. This is Sri Lanka's true beauty. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.